Hello folks, how's it going? Welcome to my review of One Piece chapter 1073. Oda did give us a few answers when it comes to like Stussy, but I think the main point of this chapter was to amp up the pacing and get us quicker to the finale of this arc. But let's start off with the cover page and a very simplistic one, considering we see two tanks firing at each other and what emerges is flowers, and we find out that Vegapunk is Vegapunk's doing, because he infused the gunpowder that produces flowers, which is interesting, which earned him the Ibel Prize, which is a complete reference to the Nobel Prize, so there you go. But the thing to note here is the expressions of Caesar, Judge and Queen looking horrified about this. My main point to this is, where is this cover story going? The fact that we saw Caesar Clown and Judge recently reunite, where's that leading? Which after this chapter, another chapter, we begin asking more about Stussy and get more intrigue about her. In fact, we get more intrigue about the clone than we do the original, which I'll also touch into. We start off, and I actually thought it was interesting, started off with the lab, and I mentioned in the last chapter, it looked like it got hit. Turns out that was the case, because you see one portion of the building, I'm assuming that's where the Strawhats are in, because we still see them observing. But everything else looks demolished. Rob Lucci shot by Kaku's one-hit KO by the hands of Stussy, and Shaka, it would not be the only one-hit KO she delivers, considering Rob Lucci's an awakened Zoan. But I would give the benefit of the doubt, because number one, the way she does it is kind of creative and I like it, and the other reason is Rob Lucci could be maxed out after fighting Luffy in Gear 5th, because Rob Lucci immediately, after realizing Stussy has betrayed them, Rob Lucci tries to attack with finger pistol. It does not work, because it's a mirage, it's pretty much an after image, and I love the way she the pose that she strikes when she appears right behind Rob Lucci, and the way she manages to land a blow, or it's not really a blow, but you get what I mean. She approaches Rob Lucci behind, like, it kind of reminds me of Robin, where she would clutch somebody, the way she would face through someone's body. You can't tell me that doesn't remind you of. Like I said, I like the way that Stussy does hit KO Lucci here, and it is a one-hit KO, because she uses the lipstick, and she gets behind Lucci, jabs him with the lipstick, which is made out of sea stone, which I think was very clever and very creative. I love that touch, because it goes with Stussy's personality and class, I guess. But then she just literally turns into Count Dracula and just bites Rob Lucci, because he's been weakened by the sea stone. That's it for Lucci. That was crazy. I was expecting something, but I was not expecting Lucci to go down that easily. I don't know. Could you really count out Lucci? We may see him again, but she says, I know you guys are strong, so I'm not going to fight you head on. Please forgive me. So I like Stussy's approach to this, because she thought this through and calculated this. And she designed herself to take out CP0 eventually, because she had the lipstick to weaken Rob Lucci and then KO him with the bite. That's crazy when you consider, like I said, Lucci is an awakened Zoan, so that's no joke. Then it immediately shifts to like Zoro and Brook looking on, like, what the hell's going on here? Like, CP0 attacking CP0, and Stussy's like in communication with Shaka. It's like, yo, it's Stussy. I put both of them to sleep. They're like, Stussy made a move. But then you got the Straw Hats back at the lab, like, freaking out, like, what the hell's going on here? You notice that Nami's the only one with a happier expression about this. Like, everybody else, like, you can't really see Robin's expression. You can see her ass, which I'm not complaining about. Shaka explained, what a surprise. Even after 20 years in hiding, she remains our ally. Which I get back into that, because it's going to tie into the original Stussy, we find out who that is. Shaka was asked, did you send your own spy into the intelligence agency? And Shaka meant, I didn't mean to, but that's how it turned out. So it's looking like Vegapunk had no control over Stussy's actions. She just did that on a whim. The fact that she was hiding for 20 years, who does that remind you of, other than Nico Robin? I mean, come on. But Zoro and Brook are not out of the woods yet, because they got the Zephyrium to deal with, because the commands have not been overwritten. So Brook and Zoro go in, which I love this, because it gives them something to do in this arc. And I love how Lilf and Edison are on the move as well. Brook's like, don't they seem familiar? And Zoro's like, yeah, same, especially him. So Zoro's acknowledging somebody they seem familiar. I'm wondering if they're talking about Jinbei or Kuma, because they show a panel of that. We have Lilf approach the Zephyrium Mihawk, which may have been a fatal mistake, because she's like, yo, I'm finally outside, hey you. And before she's able to say anything else, Zephyrium Mihawk takes a swing, and then who blocks it was Zoro, and blocks Mini Mihawk's attack. And I thought, oh shit, are we gonna get a clone of Zephyrium Mihawk versus Zoro in this chapter? That was awesome. But Zoro protects Lilith, which is kind of interesting considering Zoro did not trust Vegapunk at the beginning, which is why he didn't go with them. But he also said not to leave the Sunny unguarded. So, but then Jinbei is about to open fire on Edison, and Lilith seems more emotional about that than she does about Mihawk attacking her. But it doesn't matter because Sanji takes care of that, and Sanji saves Edison. So Lilith's joyed about that. So that was kind of cool. We get Sanji show up. Doesn't go anywhere because the Zephyrium have been put under control, and they stopped the rampage thanks to Stussy. And I love Stussy's explanation. Shaka, I put the Sea Stone on Lucci and Kaku, so I'm assuming, like, did she overwrite the commands of the Zephyrium too? Because they just stopped, so that was kind of cool. And then Vegapunk, or Shaka, says, thank you Stussy, we are leaving the island, you should come too. And then Stussy's like, understood. So is she tagging along alongside the Vegapunk 6, the actual Vegapunk, and Bonney? So that could be kind of interesting. I don't know if the Zephyrium are going to tag along. I'm assuming they will, considering who he finds out with Kizaru. But then we see Luffy. Whoa, Bonney, where'd you go? Where are you? I said this before. Luffy has to be a part of that. He and Bonney are going to team up against the world government. That's obviously where this is going. Whatever that memory of Kuma is, that Vegapunk did not want Bonney to find out, she's going to find that out, and when she does, that's going to push her, that's going to flip the switch and make the decision. She's going to help out Vegapunk and align with Luffy to stick it to the world government. That's my prediction. Plus, she doesn't have a ship, so where's she going to go? Her ship got munched by a creature created by Vegapunk, so remember that. I find it interesting that Luffy's calling for Bonney and Vegapunk, so they're not leaving this island without both of them. Oden decides to tease that I'm not sure anything about Bonney or Vegapunk. Instead, he says, however, an event will occur. The disappearance of Vegapunk. We know Bonney's with Vegapunk right now, so he hasn't disappeared. It cuts over, so speaking of random, it cuts over to New World, Sphinx Island, hometown of Whitebeard. And we see Marco's obviously returned from his saga at Wano. And we see the residents there were targeted by Marines since Marco was away. Obviously, the government still corrupt because they were looking for the Whitebeard's treasure, and they were willing to kill elders and kids to get this treasure. So there you go. By the way, that Marine kind of reminds me of the same Marine that tried to steal the money from Nami. And we get explanation through Bucking, or as we find out, the original Stussy, Buckingham. Whitebeard Jr. Weevil took care of Marines, but at the same time we find out what happens to him as well. Asked for backup, for reinforcements, and according to, first off, before we see Miss Buckingham approach Marco, it cuts to the fleet of warships that Kizaru summoned, and you see the world government flag, and all of a sudden you see Kizaru talking to one of the 5 elders. I like how we finally get a name and introduction to one of the 5 elder stars. The 5 elder stars, Saint Garcia Saturn. So he's also with Kizaru right now, and I think it's kind of obvious why he's there, because as we know, when it comes to like the ship, the command ship, the Zephyrium, the 5 elders have more authority over Vegapunk, so that would make total sense as to why he's here, because I don't see him fighting 1v1 with Luffy, do you? I'm guessing that's to cause a lot of hype for this so-called event that's about to occur, which Oda teased and cut away from. So obviously we know where this is leading. I expected to see CP0 to be taken down before the end of the arc, because obviously they're not taking down the Straw Hats. So now they've got more pressing matters with an Admiral and now one of the 5 elders making their way, who could possibly overwrite the command ship of the Zephyrium. That could be a problem, but then we get the introduction to the original former Rocks Pirate member, self-proclaimed scientist, real name Miss Buckingham Stussy. So there's the reveal. Listen, I know the people came up with this theory who was speculating about this are the ones that are feeling very validation right now. I'm not one of them because I didn't make a theory for this because I don't really care about this character. I'm sorry, I did care. I know there was a mention of her being in the Rocks Pirates, but when you mention the Rocks Pirates and a majority of the former pirates that were part of that crew, young Whitebeard, young Kaido, young Charlotte Linlin, even Shiki had more of an impact. Was the first person to escape, impel down, followed by Luffy. So up until this point, we really haven't seen all that much of Miss Buckingham. I'm assuming that's what's done by design from Oda, so I can see that. But for me, it doesn't do anything. Like, even if that's the intention, it doesn't do anything for me, because all she's been doing is like hiding behind Weevil. We thought at first she was like trying to manipulate Weevil, thinking he was Whitebeard Jr., Whitebeard's son, because he was an idiot. But we find out there's more to it than meets the eye. First off, the fact that she approached Marco, and by the way, we're looking for Marco anyway to confront him. Whether or not it was going to turn into a fight, I don't know. But we find out that through her, that Weevil was the one that protects the residents of Sphinx Island, Whitebeard's home turf. But then she cries because the Admiral Greenbull came here and I guess defeated Weevil and took him with it and captured it. Now, there could be some truth to this, but considering who it is coming from, I would take this with a grain of salt, because we know the thing is she hid her real identity. So that's number one. Number two, the clone did the same thing, and it makes sense because the two pieces are apart. So obviously it would make sense that the clone of the real Stussy Buckingham wouldn't want to be discovered, so she infiltrated herself to be a member of CP0. It's beginning more and more. She did this on a whim, and she decided on her own to help out Vegapunk because Shaka mentioned, I didn't count on this. She's been hiding for 20 years. So the fact that she was hiding, who's to say that the original Stussy wasn't doing the same? Because if people knew she was a member of the Rocks Pirates, that would cause a lot of problems. So I'll take that with a grain of salt because they were looking for Marco anyway. But I could definitely see an Admiral being the one to take down Weevil and capture him. She says to Marco is that you believe that Whitebeard and Weevil are blood related. Marco kind of gives a vague response. He's like, well, thanks a lot for protecting the village. He doesn't really say yes or no. He doesn't really say, oh, he's definitely Whitebeard's son or somebody connected to Whitebeard. So I think that's kind of interesting here. So it could be a trap to lure Marco. At the same time, it could definitely be implausible because Weevil created in the first place, and it could be a case of where Weevil may have been created by the world government because we know the Rocks Pirates were taken down. They disbanded. We don't know what happened before they disbanded. We know that Kaido was captured 17 times by the Marines. So who's to say that clone of Weevil wasn't made back then? Who's to say? And given the fact that Stussy Buckingham was affiliated with the Rocks Pirates, maybe that's the reason she used Whitebeard Jr. to help as protection, because like I said, if people knew who she really was, that would cause her a lot of problems and she would be probably captured instantly. She's been pulling things from the shadows as a former member of the Rocks Pirates. Now, on one hand, like I said, people are going to be seeking validation for this theory, planning out because, oh, we knew this all along. I'm sorry, I didn't really care who she was, because as this chapter confirmed, the clone is a hell of a lot cooler than the original right now. Now, I don't know if this is what Stussy could have done in the Prime. Does the original have wings under the coat? I don't see any. The fact she instantly took down 2 members of Cypher Pole, just like that, managed to KO Rob Lucci. It was so creative and typical Stussy-like with the lipstick being made of steel stone. Again, if the clone chose on a whim to actually assist Vegapunk by helping out control the Zephyrium, who's to say she won't betray them if she tags along? Who's to say that? Maybe she did it because obviously it presents a better opportunity for herself because she's been hiding for 20 years. So I could definitely see that lipstick being a problem because it's made out of sea stone. If she decides to actually turn and actually go against the Straw Hats, I can see that. But again, like I said, we also have bigger problems with a member of the Gorosei and Kizaru heading the Straw Hats direction. With the exception of Doflamingo, we know what happened to each of the Shishibukai, the former Shishibukai. We know what happened to Boa Hancock and how Rayleigh saved her. We know what happened with Crocodile and Mihawk joining alliance and joining alongside Buggy. By the way, if that's true of what Stussy, the original Stussy, said about Weevil being captured, I could definitely see Cross Guild interacting with Green Ball. I could definitely see that, given the Mihawk, because I find it interesting. They asked for reinforcements, and Green Ball just showed up, and this is why Stussy says with a great assault, because Marines brought reinforcements, and Admiral Green Ball just came in to deal with Weevil, Whitebeard Jr. I guess he's bought her after what happened with Shanks back at Wano. Yet you didn't send an admiral to deal with Mihawk, which makes absolutely no sense, because outside of an admiral, nobody's taking out Mihawk. I'm sorry, no. I kind of distrust what Miss Buckingham Stussy, the original, says right now. The clone is cooler than the original, confirmed after this chapter. So I don't really care about the identity of the original Buckingham Stussy, where that's going to lead. Like I said, it could be a trap to Lord Marco. That's just how I'm feeling right now. But let me know what you guys think now. Closer and closer to that all-important reveal about Kuma and where that's going to take Bonney. That's, to me, the most intriguing part of the Egg Island before we wrap that up. So I can't wait to see that. That's going to do it for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think down below. Subscribe channel for more One Piece. Thank you guys for all the continued support. Catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Bye.